All right, let's just jump right into it. We're about to decode the whole architecture of procrastination. And I don't mean as some kind of character flaw, but as a real battle that's happening inside your own brain. We're going to uncover who's fighting, why you keep losing, and most importantly, exactly how to win.
Oh man, we have all been there, right? You're staring at a deadline, you know exactly what you need to do, but you're just frozen. Physically frozen. You end up watching documentaries about cheese making instead. Look, that feeling isn't laziness, it's paralysis. And that's at the very heart of what we're talking about today.
So let's start with what we're calling the midnight paralysis. And to really get it, let's meet Leo. He's this ambitious architect, huge project due. But instead of working, he is just trapped in this state of frozen panic, fighting a brutal civil war inside his own head. And his struggle, it's not about a lack of willpower. It's about a fundamental design flaw in the human machine. And this, right here, this is the whole game changer. You have to forget everything you've ever heard about day planners and to-do lists. The source of procrastination isn't in your schedule, it's in your feelings. This is a battle over emotion, not over time. So, who's actually fighting in this internal civil war? Well, that brings us to section 2, meet your brain's crew. To understand why we get so stuck, you gotta meet the two key players at the helm of your brain, the captain and the marquee. On one side, you've got the captain. That's your logical, forward-thinking prefrontal cortex. It wants to finish the project, it wants to get that long-term success. But on the other side, you've got the monkey. That's your ancient, impulsive limbic system. It could not care less about next year. It only cares about feeling safe and happy right this second. And here is the crucial point, the absolute tragedy of the whole thing. While your captain has the better plans, your monkey has way more raw power. In a head-to-head fight, the monkey's immediate, powerful emotions will almost always overpower the captain's quiet, reasonable logic. This violent takeover actually has a name. It's called an amygdala hijack. So when you feel anxious or overwhelmed by that big project, the monkey sees that emotion as a real-life threat, like there's a lion in the bushes. It panics, it grabs the steering wheel of your brain, and it steers you away from the danger and toward the immediate safety of YouTube or Instagram. Okay, so this is where it gets really tricky because this leads us straight into something called the procrastination doom loop. What's so wild here is how the problem actually feeds itself. You can't just try harder because that very effort can make the whole situation worse, trapping you in this vicious cycle. It works like this. First, you face a stressful task. The monkey immediately flees to something easy. And for a moment, you get this feeling of relief. Ah, safety. But then reality crashes back in. The deadline is closer. And now you have a brand new feeling to deal with, guilt. This added guilt makes the original task feel even more stressful, which makes the monkey even more desperate to flee the next time. See the loop? Every single time you spin through that doom loop, you're adding another brick to what psychologists call the wall of awful. The task is no longer just a task. It becomes this monument to all your past failures, and it's surrounded by this thick, invisible barrier of guilt and shame that makes just starting feel impossible. This all brings up a pretty huge question, doesn't it? We know this behavior hurts us in the long run, so why on earth do we consistently sabotage our own future just for a few minutes of relief in the present? Well, the answer is neurologically fascinating. Get this, your brain literally treats your future self like a different person. So when you put off work, in your brain's logic, you're not making a sacrifice for you. You're just dumping this awful task on some other guy, a total stranger who just happens to be you tomorrow, so that you today can have a much easier time. Okay, so that's the diagnosis. An emotional battle, a doom loop of guilt, and this weird disconnect with our future selves. So, how do we fix it? That brings us to our fourth and final section, the architect's toolkit. We're going to look at 4 really practical tools for cognitive repair. All right, tool number 1. And honestly, this first one is the foundation for everything else. It's a mental shift that goes against every single instinct we have when we fall behind. But trust me, it's absolutely crucial for breaking the cycle. You have to forgive yourself. No, seriously. Guilt and self-criticism are monkey food. They only make those negative feelings around a task stronger, which just validates the monkey's panic. Research consistently shows that self-compassion is what breaks the doom loop. By forgiving yourself for procrastinating, you start to tear down that wall of awful and make the task feel less threatening. Okay, so once you've dropped the guilt, you still have to actually start. And that's the next big battle. This tool is designed specifically to get you over that initial moment of resistance, that feeling of hitting a wall before you've even typed a word. Use the 2-minute rule. The whole point is to lower the bar for starting so much that the monkey doesn't even see it as a threat. Your goal isn't finish the project. Your goal is just open the file. That's it. The magic is that once you start something, your brain gets this little itch to keep going. You're basically creating a tiny bit of momentum that the captain can use to pull you forward, because we all know getting started is the hardest part. And now for tool number 3. So you've started. Awesome. But then you feel it, that familiar wave of anxiety, of panic. The monkey is trying to hijack the controls again. This next tool is designed for that exact moment. It's called affective labeling. When you feel that urge to run, just pause and name the emotion. Say it out loud. I am feeling anxiety. This simple act does something amazing. It engages your prefrontal cortex, the captain. It creates a little bit of space between you and the feeling. You're no longer drowning in anxiety. You're the captain on the bridge, observing the presence of anxiety. It turns a scary, overwhelming feeling into just a manageable fact. And that brings us to our 4th and final tool. Now, the other tools were about managing the monkey, but this one's different. This is where we stop fighting the monkey altogether and start cleverly bribing it to join our team. This is temptation bundling. The monkey wants dopamine, that feel-good chemical, so give it some, but only on your terms. Pair that difficult task with something you genuinely love, like a podcast or a special playlist that you only get to listen to while you're doing that specific work. You're literally building a new neural pathway. The monkey's brain starts to rewire itself, associating the scary work with an immediate fit of pleasure. So when you put all of this together, it takes us to our final section, building your blueprint for the future. You see, these aren't just a few clever tricks. They represent a whole new way to relate to your work, and, more importantly, to yourself. It's about shifting your identity from a procrastinator to an architect of your own mind. And this really sums up the new mindset. The goal isn't to kill the monkey. He's always going to be there. You can't bully it. You have to learn to parent it. Procrastination stops being some moral failure and becomes a really useful signal. It's like an alarm bell telling you, hey, I'm scared, or I'm overwhelmed, which means it's time to pull out your tools and make the task feel safe again. And that's really the whole point, isn't it? The goal is not to become some robot who never feels resistance. That's impossible. The goal is to become an architect, someone who understands their own internal structure and has the blueprints to build a way forward, not with brute force, but with wisdom, with compassion, and with a little bit of clever engineering.
Please like and subscribe.